Major updates in President Trump's trade war. The El Salvador Democrat primary continues to heat up, and the Supreme Court gets an interesting lecture on civility. All of that and so much more today on 10-Minute Drill.
Everybody get up, get up.
The story of America is the story of an adventure.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you.
We are a nation under God, and I believe God intended for us to be free.
On Tuesday, President Trump announced that we would be lowering the temperature in our trade discussions with China.
But I'm not going to say, I'm going to play hardball with China. I'm going to play hardball with you, President Xi. No. We're going to be very nice. They're going to be very nice. And we'll see what happens. But ultimately, they have to make a deal.
This comes as markets have been volatile the last several weeks. This is being seen by many as an effort by President Trump to calm the markets and let them know that we are moving into that negotiating phase with China, and we hope to be able to strike a deal that is mutually beneficial. We will see where that one goes. On Tuesday, we discussed Senator Chris Van Hollen's trip down to El Salvador to meet with Abrego Garcia. Following him, 4 House members have also gone down there. We denied a meeting with Garcia, but have released a lot of different videos and images describing their efforts down there. The National Republican Congressional Committee has followed up by saying that they will pay for the airfare of all 25 of the most vulnerable House Democrats as long as they commit to live streaming their activities down there and posting lots of selfie videos with any members of MS-13 they might meet down there. The NRCC released their own video.
El Salvador is the destination for Democrats.
Republicans continue to believe that this is a major misfire by Democrats, as President Trump's efforts on deportations are the most popular thing he's doing right now. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in the case of Mahmoud v. Taylor. This is a major parental rights and religious liberty case that came out of Maryland. It came because a school district told parents they no longer had the right to opt their children out of controversial lessons. We'll give you a little bit of history on that. Back in January of 2023, the school announced 6 new, very controversial books about things like gender identity, transgender ideology, drag queens were introduced into the school curriculum. It came with an opportunity for parents to opt out of that, and also a warning. Letters would be sent out to parents before these things were brought into the classroom. However, after outcry from activists, activist groups, activist teachers like Lane Codgel, who Fox News reports has multiple non-binary personalities, uses they/them pronouns with they/their students, Montgomery County Public Schools changed course and decided they would no longer be offering an opt-out. MCPS expects all classrooms to be inclusive and safe spaces for students, including those who identify as LGBTQ or have family members in the LGBTQ community. Therefore, as with all curriculum resources, there is an expectation that teachers utilize these inclusive lessons and texts with all students. Students and families may not choose to opt out of engaging with any instructional materials other than Family Life and Human Sexuality Unit of Instruction, which is specifically permitted by Maryland law. As such, teachers will not send home letters to inform parents when inclusive books are read in the future. Now, I want to draw your attention to one point in there. The Family Life and Sexuality Unit of Instruction is required by law to include an opt-out option for parents. Maryland law requires that schools allow parents to opt out of that. So what Maryland County Public Schools did is shifted these controversial books and lessons into the language arts program, which does not have an opt-out option. Basically a shell game for these activist teachers and school board to force students to have to sit through these lessons. This led to a major lawsuit, bringing together one of the most diverse coalitions of political activists that we've ever heard of. Muslims, Ethiopian Christians, Jews, Catholics, Latter-day Saints all rallied together for the religious liberty part of this, the fact that their religious views were being ignored by the school district that was prioritizing inclusivity over their religious beliefs, which are protected by the Constitution, but also the parental rights aspect of this. The fact that parents were being told not only will they not get a warning when things that they don't believe in are being taught to their kids, but there would be no option for them to opt out. That lawsuit now is at the Supreme Court. Justice Gorsuch had some very specific questions about the books themselves, and he raised questions about a book called Pride Puppy.
Pride Puppy was the book that was used for the pre-kindergarten curriculum. That's no longer in the curriculum.
That's the one where they are supposed to look for the leather and things and bondage, things like that.
It's not bondage. It's a woman in a leather.
Sex worker, right?
No,
No?
that's not correct. No.
I I read it.
It's a drag queen.
Drag
So-
queen and drag
Correct.
queen.
The leather that they're pointing to is a woman in a leather jacket, and one of the words is drag queen in the search.
And they're supposed to look for those.
It is an option at the end of the book, correct?
Yeah.
All right, so take a look at what they're talking about. In the book for 3-year-olds, you have a mom with facial hair. You have somebody holding a sign about two-spirit pride. Now remember, two-spirit individuals embody both masculine and feminine spiritual and gender characteristics. That is something that they believe 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds in pre-K classes should be learning about. They may have even lost Justice Elena Kagan.
I, too, was struck by, these are, young kids, picture books, and on matters concerning sexuality. I suspect there are a lot of non-religious parents who weren't all that thrilled about this.
Not to be left out, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson had one of the odder moments of this hearing. She pressed specifically about how this burdens families' religious exercise when they have other choices.
And I guess I'm struggling to see how it burdens a parent's religious exercise if the school teaches something that the parent disagrees with. You have a choice. You don't have to send your kid to that school. You can put them in another situation.
Consider what Justice Jackson is saying there. She's saying you have another choice, but for a lot of working families, they don't have another choice. Private school is incredibly expensive in the Montgomery County area and all around the DMV area. Moving kids into homeschool is not even an option for so many working families. And unless Justice Jackson is inadvertently endorsing school choice, there is no other choice for so many of these families. And our tax dollars are going to fund those schools teaching things we disagree with, whether we like it or not. But Justice Kavanaugh had one of the most important lines of the day.
Here, they're not asking you to change what's taught in the classroom. They're not asking you to change that at all. A lot of the rhetoric suggests that they might have, that they were trying to do that, but that's not what they're trying to do. They're only seeking to be able to walk out so that they don't have to, the parents don't have their children exposed to these things that are contrary to their own beliefs.
So again, they're not even talking about the substance of the curriculum. They're talking about the option to opt out, which I think is bizarre that we even have to talk about. But he closed with one of the most important mic drops of this entire hearing.
But Maryland was founded on religious liberty and religious tolerance, a haven for Catholics escaping persecution in England. Going back to 1649, I'm sure you're aware of this history. And Montgomery County has been a beacon of that religious liberty for all these years. And I guess I'm surprised, given that this is the hill we're going to die on in terms of not respecting religious liberty given that history. And so,
again, to reiterate Justice Kavanaugh's point here, this is not about the substance of these curriculums. This is about parents' ability to opt out, which is a massive parental rights issue and, again, a massive religious liberty issue. So we'll see where the Supreme Court ends up falling on this, but based on initial reactions, it looked like a pretty strong majority were going to side with the parents on this crazy case. On Tuesday, President Trump announced that they would be ending President Biden's student debt bailout.
In other news, the Trump administration has announced we will put an end to Joe Biden's illegal student loan bailout attempts. No student loan has been referred to collection since March of 2020. Debt cannot be wiped away. It just ends up getting transferred to others. So why should Americans who didn't go to college or went to college and responsibly paid back their loans pay for the student loans of other Americans? If you take out a loan, you have to pay it back. It's very simple.
President Biden's crusade to bail out the student debt of the higher income potential students with student debt was incredibly unpopular, particularly when people were asked if they were willing to pay higher taxes to bail out that student debt, if they were okay with the fact that it would likely lead to higher tuition costs for other students, or if it would lead to more jobs requiring a college degree. All of those spiked in a poll that we followed here. We know reforms to this system are important. Tuition is absurdly expensive. There are far too many predatory loan programs. There's also so many degrees that have almost no future income potential that students are taking out massive loans and never able to pay off because of that. But the student debt bailout is not any kind of solution to those problems, and we hope that gets fixed very soon. I remember hearing about an interesting lady named Nina Janjowicz.
It's
how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie.
Nina Janjowicz was at one point positioned by President Biden to be the misinformation czar of the government, which was a very chilling and Orwellian idea. Well, she's back in the headlines this week.
I would like to call upon you to stand firm against another autocracy, the United States of America. The Trump administration is undoubtedly preparing a pressure campaign to force EU institutions to roll back regulation like the DSA. Do not capitulate.
Note there that she is calling on Europe to take tougher positions against her own country, the United States. And it's not just about things like, internet misinformation. She's specifically getting into policies like complex things that affect everything from trade to telecom to communications. And her positioning on there is very alarming to most people. Lastly today, I want to give a shout out to dear friend of myself and of the program, Dana Perino, who has a new book that just came out. I wish someone had told me. It is an incredibly valuable book about mentorship. She's on a book tour right now talking about this on shows with millions of viewers, so this won't make a very big dent. But Dana has been an incredible friend and also promoter of this program. A lot of you who are listening or watching us right now are here because Dana Perino told you to.
Matt Whitlock and I had a conversation on Perino on politics. He has a podcast called The 10-Minute Drill. I highly recommend subscribing to it. It's new. It's 10 minutes. It's quick.
So congratulations to Dana. This book is an incredibly valuable read. I don't know anyone who puts a higher priority on mentorship and paying forward the professional lessons and help that she got along the way. This is a great read and a very valuable gift to your friends. Congrats, Dana. That is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Please subscribe on YouTube. Tell your friends. Thanks again.